So we're back looking at the Megatouch ION 2014. It's been a while. I apologize. It's been, I think, since October since my last video, which is almost a year. I've been busy. Sorry about that. But I'm back for some more hacking on this thing. Now, when we left off, we were going through trying to bypass the key, and I had mentioned that the main component that handles a key is a class called the KeyManager. So you can just put KeyManager in your function search here, and it will pop up. It's already on my screen. And if you go to Window and Function Call Graph, you can see what calls it. Get instance calls it, and anytime something needs to do anything with the key, it's going to call get instance, which then actually gives it access to the KeyManager class or creates a KeyManager class if it hasn't been called yet. So that's what's important. We need to understand how the KeyManager class is set up. So the KeyManager, you can see, calls check, init, and ReadKey, and not in that order. Okay. So let's go back here. So these are the things that we're going to be interested in: is the KeyManager class and the KeyManager init and the KeyManager check. So here's the KeyManager class, and you can see it's a very simple, or I'm sorry, KeyManager main function. It initializes a counter to 0. It sets some values in the structure to 0. Calls init, which basically reads the key and then fills in all the data structures. That's going to be important. Then it calls check to see if the key basically is valid. So we're going to want to have to look at that too. Okay, and then if check results equals 1, it writes key data. And I don't think it actually writes this to the key. I think it writes it somewhere else. But regardless, we probably aren't going to care about this. We'll see. We might care about it. But we are going to care about init and check. All right. And so if we go to init, which I showed you, I think, in lesson 4 or 5 or video 4 or 5, it sets up a bunch of things. And in lesson 4, I think it was, or video 4, I showed you how to figure out what the data structure is for this class. And it's very important we figure that out. So we're going to click on edit data type, and if you went through and you did all this work that I showed you in the other episode, you should come up with something that looks like this. This is all the entire data structure. It's 2,612 bytes long. You can see we have raw key data, and this is the data it actually reads. When it reads a key, it reads a chunk of data from the key, 1,008 bytes. It looks like stores it there. Okay. And then it actually, what it does is it takes the data from raw key data and just copies it around, and in some case expands it. Okay, but mostly it takes the data straight and just copies it into these different member variables. And in some case it does expand it, like is game active array, I think, and or actually I think this is game options as well as active array. I don't remember. Doesn't matter right now. So you should saw we have this raw key data, a bunch of 64-byte buffers, a value that just says, is this a Dallas key 995 key, option array for options, part number, serial number, padding. Sometimes you will see, if you were going through this and you noticed, for example, server URL, when you look at it, it looks like it's 200 bytes. But often you'll have an extra byte at the end, and it just leaves a 0 in there. It's called null termination. So if you went through this and you just had a bunch of single bytes after a bunch of these, that's just combine them all together to one. Just add the extra byte into the previous thing. So there, you have this, and this is going to help us a lot when we are looking through things. So again, I used between init and the function ReadKey, because what happens here is, again, it gets the key code from the USB, the key, which is accessed through the USB I/O instance, and if the key code is F, that's negative, which is, what is that? 8C positive hex, or if it is, I'm sorry, F, that's not F, that's C. It's ASCII there, but it shows the regular values here. C, which is 12 in decimal, 8C, which is 140 decimal, or X, or A, which is 10 in decimal, but it's going to show that actually these values on the key itself. It's going to show these hex values. Then it knows it's a Dallas, this 1995 Dallas key, which is what everything is used. I don't know why they have options for not Dallas keys. I don't think that the Megatouch ION uses anything but a 1995. Actually, it's 1996 Dallas key. They call it 1995. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is like some kind of upgrade program they had, or it could just be old legacy code that they just never stripped out of as they went along the versions. Who knows? Sets a bunch. All this stuff right here is setting these fields that I showed you, these member variables to 0. And then it does read, which actually grabs the key data from the key and stores it in that first field, raw key data. And then all the rest of this other code is taking the raw key data and just moving it around, basically, and in some cases expanding it out, like the is game active arrays actually expanded out. It's a kind of compressed on the key, and in some cases like this version is actually made up of different parts on the raw key and just made into a human readable string. So that's it. So this is pretty straightforward, all right, but this init function helps you lay out the key. Well, the things we're going to have to check though are read, because we're going to have to understand how this function works and override it eventually, okay? And then check. We'll go back to just the KeyManager class, and after it reads it, it checks it, because if this check doesn't succeed, things are not going to work out well for us. So we're going to have to understand how this code works. But before we even get to check, we have to understand the read function, because if I'm guessing it's the same in the previous hack that I did for the Force 2011. I noted that you couldn't just copy in the decrypted key data, because when you read, the read function is going to decrypt the data, and it's going to do some other things to it. So let's go back to init and go to the read function, and we're going to have to figure out what's going on here. Okay, so if you just started, or if you've been following along, I know it's been almost a year, so probably catch up on those last videos. I'm going to try to finish this thing up in the next couple weeks or months. So you'll probably want to go through and watch those videos 1 through 5 again, get re-caught up, and then in the next video we are going to look at this read function. And there's also going to be one other thing we'll probably override. It's very simple. The function that actually checks, is there a security key in there at all? I mean, it just detects the presence of a key being in there, and that's really simple. That's basically the same as it was in the 2011. But this function has changed, if I recall. So in preparation for the next video where we start looking at this read function, go ahead and make sure your KeyManager data type looks the same. Try to fill these out on your own, but at the end of the day, check to make sure yours look basically like this. Okay, they should all be filled out from 0 to 2612. Okay, so you have your offsets there, the length. Don't worry about mnemonic. I can't say that word. Data type and name. Now your data type will probably be car. You can make it a car 1008 for the first field, the raw key data. I actually made a data type because I am interested in figuring out what exactly every byte in the raw key data is, and you have to go a little further than just the init function, because some, I don't know why, some of the accessors read actually from the raw data rather than the data that is read from the raw data and moved into the other part of the data structure. I don't know why they did that, but anyway, point is, your data type for raw key data, for this raw key data element of 108 bytes, I'm sorry, 1008 bytes, can be char. Okay, so you can have a char 1008 array.